I've had some time to think now from 2 years worth of like running consistently, and I've come to the conclusion that there are two types of runs that really help take your running to the next level. And I'd like to share with you today. And if you stick around, you'll hear a bonus tip about how to take one of those runs to another level up to get even more experience and run faster than you ever thought possible. My name's Salvatore. I'm a humble 9 to 5 office worker, someone who still wears a suit with a tie, who likes to, after work, roll up his sleeve, cook a lovely plant-based meal for myself and my girlfriend, have culinary adventures and the like. Someone who wants to cross the finish line, lace off his shoes, cross the finish line faster than I ever thought possible and imaginable. Someone who's seeking to inspire a generation of young men, guys, people that are lost, people that might have either played too much video games, watched too much anime, kind of can't figure out what the next step is, and kind of not really feeling quite happy about themselves, having that freedom and control over their life, and kind of feeling really proud of the body or kind of, where they're at. And I have something very specific for that if you'd like to help me help the channel out. It's called Life Cycle. So basically, to leverage your 9 to 5, if you go to university, go to school, and you kind of want to leverage your free time or your time as much as possible, I have a guide for you that takes you through step by step how to get a bike, how to save thousands of dollars, how to train with a bike to literally conquer mountains in a figurative and literal sense. Everything I learned over 6 years worth of commuting with practical tips of how to get so much faster, have an incredible fitness, weight loss, be like almost the envy of all your friends, just have unbelievable levels of fitness that you never thought you could achieve. And it's really sustained and really easy, safe on the body to achieve. So if you'd like to support me in the channel, click the link in the description below. It costs less than an Uber Eat meal, less than a PlayStation 5 game. Now, with that being said, let's get into the video itself. So I'm talking about the two types of runs that have resulted in me having an amazing transformation to my running and being the fastest version of myself now. Points where I kind of feels like I'm at the highest level ever in a video game, and I just feel so like amazing, and I'm really happy to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. First one is called, look, when I heard of this run, I wasn't really sure. I was really, really skeptical. I was like, well, does this really have a benefit? Are you sure? I don't know, like it seems a bit airy-fairy, like it didn't really amaze me that much. But I kind of have done a couple of these now. I think maybe I've done, how many is it, 6 or 7? I've done about 7 of these actually. Wow, that was quick. And I've got a couple of things to say about it, and I kind of want to share with you. Now, without further ado, it's called the long run. Now, the long run this is kind of what confused me the most. I was trying to understand, well, what makes a long run, and what speed makes a long run. For a distance, if you're kind of new to running, it seems that the general consensus is this is a bit wishy-washy in terms of what constitutes a long run, because it depends on your goals. But I think if you're kind of new to running and you've done, say, like a 5K, a long run starts at 8Ks and can go up to anything up to, say, 30, 31Ks. Now, for me personally, I feel like a long run, and I do long runs that have started at 12Ks. So I'm now at the point where I'm doing about 16K long runs. So I find them really enjoyable. So that's the distance. So it's kind of, it's something long. It's as it's intended. It's kind of like if you're starting out, right, and say you're not necessarily super fast, so you're running closer to 6 minutes a K, or even a bit above that. If you kind of do 8K, that's about almost an hour. So it's kind of like running for about an hour is what's considered a long run. And I guess to the speed point of view. So this is where it's beneficial to do lots of runs before, like do lots of easy runs or turtle runs as I call them, where you're kind of doing it so you can talk. You've kind of got a certain pace, you know what that is. Now, basically, doing a long run is just taking that pace and going a bit quicker. So for me, for the longest time, my easy runs between 5:30 and 6 minutes. Now they're kind of at the point where they're between about 2:25 to 2:45. Now my long runs are kind of averaging or sitting between 5:05 to maybe 5:15, 5:20. And see, even though it's kind of the same intensity almost as an easy run, it's made harder or exacerbated by the fact that you have to do it over a long distance, and it's kind of like the mental battle starts to kick in, and that's where you kind of have to really like focus and lock into like a pace. Like the point and benefit of doing these types of long runs is kind of like the mental training, but also to teach your body to clear like lactate and kind of get your body used to being uncomfortably tired and kind of being able to push like through that and kind of having your body respond and adapt to it. So you know, drive more efficiencies in your muscles, your blood gets better at circulating, oxygen's delivered more efficiently, you learn to clear lactate better. And then as well as that, if you kind of take, for what I like to do for the last couple Ks, is go a bit quicker than I did at the start. So you're kind of like using that to simulate like finishing faster at a race. So obviously like when you do a race, you're going all out, you're gonna be tired. So this is kind of like a way to practice that. And I kind of feel like it really is something special. Like I think it was my sixth long run, I believe it was. Yes, sixth long run. And I was able to do it like at an incredible pace. Like I was able to do it starting out like I think 5:10 or 5:05, and I was like, how on earth am I going to be able to hold this? But surprisingly, 15 k's later, I was able to, or 14 k's after the first split, I was able to actually hold that pace and finish really strong. Closer to 4:30 or no, I think it was 4:40 something. So really crazy to kind of see me just do really, really well. My body really like respond well to it. And I guess like, well, okay, long runs are great, but how does this like translate into like, running a faster race or whatever? I guess the point is it's important to know what your goals are and what you're seeking to do from a like racing point of view. So I guess first and foremost, the point of a long run is to do a distance that's longer than your current race. So what I mean by this is you're kind of getting your body used to the distance component of a race, or kind of like pushing yourself to do more distance in a race. Like you kind of like, I guess a way to see it is you're kind of like increasing the size of an orange. Because like when you like squeeze that orange, if it's bigger, like there's more juice in it. And I feel like that's kind of like what we're kind of doing like with the long run. I know it's not a great analogy, but like it's kind of like training you to run faster when you need it, because you've overcompensated the distance and you're kind of really getting fit. So you know that when you kind of push up the pace, it's a bit easier because you've kind of trained your body to get used to running a bit slower, but like over a real long distance. So you're kind of really cleaning up your efficiencies. So basically like maximizing more what your body can do with what you've got. And it also like I find builds lots of confidence, because it's like, well, if I can run like I did yesterday, 16 Ks for my longest long run ever, then I could surely do a race that's 10K or even 12K like the City Bay I'm aiming for, because I've gone over that distance. Yes, I haven't run as fast, but I've gone 4Ks over that distance. So why can't I simply do the 12? Like I've already achieved it. Like, you know what I mean? It demystifies the distance, and then by the time you do the distance, it feels short because you've done like runs that are longer already, if that makes sense. Like you're trivializing the race itself by doing long runs, I'd say. Now, of course, getting into the like long run itself and kind of a bonus tip, how to actually do these well. I've done about 7 of these, and it is okay to listen to music, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. Don't get me wrong. But I find for me, because I kind of have to like lock into a certain pace and really focus on that and kind of fight the mental boredom. It sounds really like bad to say that, but I find listening to a good podcast is probably really helpful. Because see, the thing is, when we're doing a long run, it's a pace a little bit quicker than an easy run, but you're still kind of able to listen and concentrate. So if you hear someone speaking, it can kind of take you and help put you in that zone where you're just like basically going for it. Not going for it, but like you're doing it. It should feel like I guess it should feel like a 6 to 7 out of 10. Like a long run in terms of difficulty, an easy run being between, like 4 and let's say maybe 6 or something. So it's kind of like, yeah, it's a little bit trickier, but it's not that bad. Like it's made trickier by the fact it's the distance, not the effort itself. Because the effort it's not like saying the 4 minutes. It's not like a tempo, but yeah. Actually, on that point, another tip is when you're running a long run, pay attention to the weather. For one, if you need to understand when you're running, your body will go up 10 degrees. So the other day when I did a long run, my fastest one actually, I should say, it was 22 degrees before I stepped out of the house. So I wore a singlet instead of a quarter zip. and it was a good decision. I reckon I almost could have ran it without a singlet because it's that hot. And I was kind of tempted to, but it was a lot of cars. I was like, I don't know if they really need to see that first thing in the morning. So we decided not to. But yeah, it was also hot. So this is interesting because my mouth actually started to dry out. So I kind of at a certain point, and this is why it's important to do easy runs and kind of build a route and sense of, well, how could I do a long run? You're going to have to get a sense of, well, where are some areas you could run a bit longer that are easier. I've got this path that basically goes from the city to the beach, which is 12K. And kind of that gives me so much room to kind of just, use that for long runs. So it's really, really useful. And it's not too far from where I am. So that's really useful for one. And I guess that moves to my next point. So long runs are important because they increase your body's ability to run, longer distances and also run those longer distances like faster and kind of get used to the idea of being tired in a race to kind of give your body more efficiencies. Now, the next point is a tempo run. Now, tempo runs as well, I was really skeptical about these because I am an all or nothing kind of guy. I think or thought to myself that intervals are the best type of run because they're the quickest run. Therefore, you're going faster than race pace. Therefore, it's got to be where all the gains are made and you should be able to do it pretty consistently and you have no problems. Well, yes, but I came to realize that I might have ramped up my intervals too quickly and I've kind of like had an injury scare by doing an interval and then doing a race the day after. And it was just not a good recipe and I was an idiot for that. And kind of even trying to do intervals this year, getting back into it, I didn't really feel comfortable and kind of my shin kind of felt a bit funny. So for me, like, there's got to be something else we can do. And that's kind of where I learnt the idea of a tempo run. So a tempo run is like, before you do a tempo run, it's important to do some type of race so you kind of know what your race pace is, because this is kind of like important for all of this. So a tempo run is you take kind of your race pace, which for me at the time of discovering tempo runs was about, I think 350 or 355 per K, the fastest pace I can run. Now, in doing so, taking 20 to 30 seconds additional to that is equal to your tempo pace. So for me, that would be between 410 to 420, something like that. Yeah, 410 to 420. And so basically it's like a pace where it is hard. It's like an 8 to 9 out of 10. But surprisingly, here's where it got really interesting. Like, it's hard and you think you won't be able to hold it, but actually you can. So I've started it at, say, 4.5 Ks, and I've increased it to, what was it the other day? I think it was right on 9 Ks. Yeah, 9 or, no, I think it was 9.5. So, and running it at a pace of like between, 4, depending on the splits, anywhere between 410 or, no, 407, I think, to 420. So that's pretty quick to kind of hold it for the whole thing. And I found that by sticking to this, and I think I've done about, how many tempos have we done here today? How many have I done? Because I wrote a note of this. I think I've easily done like more than 10, I reckon. I've really, really loved them. And they kind of give you the benefit and like feeling of like running fast and you just feel really accomplished after. And interestingly, I found out something interesting because I really like the idea of interval runs and running like fast. So what we've done is for the last 1K or 0.5 Ks, if I'm increasing it by 0.5 every week, I run it as fast as I can. I run the last bit, the last K or last 500 meters as an interval. And that, I tell you, is hard. But it's good because it's like, I guess for me, again, like I'm an all or nothing guy, I'm really competitive, and it makes it feel like it's something to look forward to, because holding the pace for a tempo can be a bit tricky, but kind of having something at the end to like look forward to and push and like save your energy and kind of like, I don't know, it mimics the idea of being able to run really fast at the race at the end, because you're basically simulating that time and time and time again. So for me, I've been able to kind of like run the last 500 meters or a K anywhere between 3 minutes 24 to 3 minutes 32, I think, which is crazy to think I can like obtain that pace, because basically that pace is what I need to do for another 11 Ks in order to run the city to bay faster than I ever thought possible and faster than 40 minutes for the 12K. So it's kind of like we're kind of partway there, but we've got a long journey and road ahead. But I think the tempo runs are really, really, really cool. Because see, the thing is, when I did my like first set of interval runs, like, they were kind of just a little bit above 4Ks. And now it's kind of like I'm doing that still, but then I'm also having the last bit where I'm pushing faster than like basically any interval I've ever done, instead of 5, which is crazy to think like I've still got that much in the tank and I'm like really adapting well. So I find for me, tempo runs are great because they give you the extra safety of not really like having yourself as injury prone, but also like by combining it with the like an interval in the last K or 500 meters, calling it the tempoval, patent pending, you really kind of have the best of both worlds. So I guess to say, well, how is this translating to running a race faster? Well, we touched upon the long run, which is kind of like, confidence, winning a longer distance, having a bigger orange. Now, this is kind of like being able to get more juice out of the orange and kind of like basically, in order to run fast, you have to practice running fast. Like that's obvious. So this is kind of where that comes into play. And eventually I think the tempo I'm going to get to about 12 Ks, which is exactly at race pace. So then eventually by when we get to that, not race pace distance, race distance, we'll eventually start to slowly stabilize and then we'll start to make that a bit quicker, or we'll do tempo runs that are shorter, between 6 to 8 Ks at an even faster pace. So it's kind of like you're trying to start to really simulate and leverage kind of really feeling and locking into a certain speed and kind of getting your body used to what that feels like and kind of floating just above where it would be too tiring to kind of really push yourself and your body to adapt to that. And by kind of like, again, it's crazy to think that my first tempo was 4.5. I've already doubled that distance and I'm still making tremendous progress and I'm still like basically seeing the same time. Like it's really kind of like playing that long game and seeing the benefits like come full circle. It's amazing. And I guess like to kind of go back to another video, like I was kind of talking about my like corporate cup like final round. I think if I had done more this tempoval leading up to this, I think I would have been able to more turn on and have the extra confidence to know that I could do this last minute sprint because my body's kind of used to that feeling of like fatigue, but just pushing through and kind of, letting it all out. I think that would have really helped me to get closer to either low 17s or sub 17s in the 16-minute mark. So that's how powerful I think that is. But again, combining both of these, the long run and the tempo run, you can follow me on Strava and you kind of see how I'm going to keep doing them every week, as well as, 2 easy runs I seek to do. And it's just really cool to kind of see that come through and keep pushing. It's like applying the like 80-20 rule, being that the 20 is the tempo and then everything else is kind of the 80. So it's kind of really cool to see, I guess, that come full circle and kind of like figure out how to integrate and have more structured running plan to see kind of your body get really, really faster. So I guess to conquer the mountain of, I guess, running a really quick race, it's important to kind of understand, well, what type of exercises to do it will help you get up that. And from reflecting on 2 years worth of running and doing lots of different runs, I would say that, tempo runs and long runs are a huge, huge part of kind of really dialing into that speed and kind of really, crystallizing a lot of your like slower runs before to kind of take your running to another level. Like now that you've built the base, incorporating tempo and long runs really helps to kind of, take yourself to the next level in a really cool way. And you've got other, milestones to challenge. Not just you've got your races, you've got your tempo, see how long your tempo pace is, and your distance, your long run, your distance, and your pace in your long run. And then like you kind of got a lot of different metrics to track. And as you get better at all of them, you can kind of see how they all flow through. And it's even more exciting. It's kind of like having these smaller goals along the way to kind of encourage you to keep pushing for your bigger goal of conquering that big mountain. For me, being 12K under 40 minutes. So as I say, conquer mountains, conquer life. Thank you so much.